Michigan involving their athletic director. And let us bring in Heather Dinich. You're going to see the sign that says SEC behind her because she's covering SEC Media Days for us. But this story, Heather, comes from the Big Ten. Go ahead.
Yes, that's right. Warde Manuel is going to step down at the end of this calendar year, and Michigan's president is going to conduct a national search. Greeny, this all comes as a result of a major investigation into the athletic department, and nearly 300 witnesses, more than 20,000 documents were reviewed, and there are two important keys to the findings. One is that the investigation into the culture review did not find that misconduct was widespread throughout Michigan's athletic department, but it did find that there were weaknesses in accountability, organizational structure, oversight, and reporting, and this created conditions that misconduct was not always addressed consistently. As for Michigan Athletic Director Warde Manuel, the investigation found that he did demonstrate important leadership qualities, but it also identified failures to quickly and effectively act on allegations of wrongdoing by the athletic department. Okay, so I'm told that a statement from Warde will be coming later. Okay. This is not entirely a surprise. Let's focus on the big picture here with Michigan's athletic department. With Sharon Moore and everything that has happened over years, if you go to ESPN.com and look at a timeline about investigations and things that have gone wrong in Michigan's athletic department, Greeny, it's about this long, okay? So this is the result of all of that, and it is a complete reset, and Kyle Whittingham, the new football coach, is exactly what they needed because he was hired in part to bring some stability and discipline to the program.
It's a university where the major athletics teams, you're talking about the men's basketball team and the national champion, won a national championship this year, and the football team won a national championship just a few years ago. But to Heather's point, a lot of the off-field scandals of a variety of different sorts. Schefter, you're here, so we would be remiss if we didn't get your reaction. You're one of the most prominent and visible Michigan alums that we know. We understand how much connection and emotion you have for the university. Just what's your reaction to this today?
Well, Greeny, this athletic department's had low points and high points. Heather laid out some of the low points, the investigation that is being issued here that documents some of the failures of the athletic department. There was a championship in football. There was a championship in basketball. A lot of people felt last year when the school hired a new president that at that point in time, he potentially would make a change at the athletic director spot. Well, the president tragically, unfortunately, got sick and had to take leave after a very short time in office. Warde Manuel stayed on, and the basketball team won a national championship. Then Dusty May leaves. Then it's another issue. Then this report comes out. It seems like there's been this roller coaster, and now the school has made the decision, Warde Manuel has made the decision that he's going to step down at the end of the year, which gives them time to find a new athletic director. Warde can control things or at least be in charge until they can find a successor for himself.
Heather, anything else to finish up on?
Well, just moving forward, Green, I think this is a great job. I mean, even with all of these problems, this is a university athletic department that has resources. It has everything that you need to be successful at the highest level. These teams that Schefter just mentioned have proven that. They've just got to find the right person. It's got to be a home run hire.
All right, again, behind Heather right now, Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, is holding a news conference. If he says anything that you need to hear, we'll bring that to you immediately. Heather, outstanding. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, as we are back on Get Up, and we will have college football news for you shortly. But right now, back to the NFL with a feature that we call Holding McCourt with Jason McCourty. J-Mac, you put together a list of things that you're excited to see as this NFL training camp season begins. What's the first one you're looking forward to?
What does this Philadelphia Eagles offense look like? Sean Mannion, a new offensive coordinator, first-time play caller in the NFL. Well, the last guy that called plays for the Eagles, they were vandalizing his house because the game didn't go the right way. When adversity hits this Eagles team this year on offense, what's going to happen? How are they going to respond? The relationship with Sean Mannion and with Jalen Hurts, what's that going to be like? This Eagles team is fascinating now to me without A.J. Brown.
They're, to me, the most interesting team in the NFL over the course of the last couple of years because they've reached the highest of highs and yet had some of the most inexplicable, lowest of lows, if you will. What is your expectation for them and in particular for their quarterback this year?
I mean, I think Jalen Hurts is the most fascinating player in the league this year. And we think we've seen him enough. We've been down the road with him. The fact that AJ is now gone, and we know why AJ's gone, it puts a pressure in the media, in the locker room, and certainly on 1st and 10 under center that Jalen Hurts has to light it up this year. And the way the Philadelphia media works, if he doesn't, if they can't move the chains, if you palpably miss AJ Brown, you point to Jalen and say it's your fault. That's how it works.
That article in April made it really clear that the Eagles are on their last, I guess, moments with Jalen Hurts. This season is going to determine how he plays, going to determine how much longer he's going to be the quarterback there. There are things that he needs to do, including get under center and attack the middle of the field. You cannot just leave the middle of the field as a place where you will not throw the football because that is where the big chunks are gained in the modern NFL. He's going to do it this year. I think they're going to have success.
Here's why I think that the Jalen Hurts thing is so complicated. Because I think you could make this statement that he is the most underappreciated player in the NFL, and I would defend it. And you could make the statement, most of the time when they look bad, he looks like he is the problem, and I would defend that too. So both of those things, and there's no way both of them are true. So I suppose we will find out. If there's one thing we know about the Eagles in their recent past, they're willing to move on from people that they've had great success with pretty quickly.
I mean, Carson Wentz was the quarterback when Jalen Hurts first took
coach
over.
wins a championship when they move on from him.
Absolutely. And that, to me, is the hard part. When you say all those things about Jalen Hurts, as true as they are, he's a Super Bowl MVP. He's been a Super Bowl MVP candidate in the regular season as well throughout his career. All he's done as a Philadelphia Eagles quarterback is win. And still in that same breath, we talk about it. And I think the also part of this is the Nick Sirianni of all of it. He's an offensive coach. And it's just been different play caller after different play caller under him. Where does he fit into all of this of how the season unfolds?
Schefter.
Jalen Hurts, he was a Super Bowl MVP, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's amazing that he could be this much of a lightning rod, this close to being a Super Bowl MVP. Besides that, and this is more a broad issue, Sean Mannion entering first season as the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator.
Right.
There were about 10 head coaching changes. There were a ton of offensive coordinator changes. We have something this year that is not going to be talked about, that has not been talked about very much, that I think is a huge issue. First-time play callers. Sean Mannion may be a great offensive coordinator. How does anybody have any idea what it's going to be for him to call a game on Sunday? That is an art. That is experience. And with all these new play callers across the league, in Philadelphia with Sean Mannion, in Seattle with Brian Fleury, who replaces Clint Kubiak, who becomes the Vegas head coach, take a look at all the new offensive coordinators and all the new first-time play callers. And I'm going to tell you right now, just because the Seahawks offense lit it up last year doesn't mean they'll do it this year. Just because the Eagles offense is loaded doesn't mean they're going to light up. And take a look at every new offensive coordinator and ask that question for everyone that has never called a game before.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. Let's move on. Let's continue holding McCourt here. What's the next thing you have your eye on, J-Mac?
I'm looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes is coming back. He's aiming for week 1. Are they still a contender? They didn't make the playoffs last year. They haven't retooled all the way around them on the offensive side of the ball. Was expecting them to go get a wide receiver. They didn't do that. A ton of new pieces on the defensive side of the ball. Is this a team that can still win the Super Bowl? Or are they kind of hitting reset in the middle of the Mahomes run?
I think it's obvious that they're hitting reset in the middle of the run, that this is not a legitimate contender. The big addition they made was Kenneth Walker. They didn't make the receiver additions that they needed. They lost their entire secondary. Their best players on defense are aging, and their Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame, best of all time quarterback is limping around in a brace. It's hard for me to imagine that this is going to be a contender in the AFC this coming season.
But they're not thinking like that.
Of course they are.
When you have Mahomes out there, when you have Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, and you're paying that kind of money for a running back and Kenneth Walker, you believe that you have a chance to get back to the Super Bowl another year and do it again. That's what they believe.
I believe I could be an astronaut. It doesn't mean that it's true.
Talk to Kyle. He'll say
what do the analytics say? I'm interested to hear if we could pop it up on the screen when you get it. Like, where do we rank them as far as likelihood? Because I agree with you guys. I watched a team last year long before Patrick Mahomes got hurt. And his team has any number of other problems, and I don't know that they have filled those. What is your sense of Kansas City?
This is when I buy, and this is when I trust them. And the Walker thing to me is, we've never seen Mahomes like this. this. This is like, remember when Happy Gilmore learns how to putt and he's like, oh crap, like now he's a whole different golfer.
Yeah.
We've never, as much as we love Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, all those guys, it's always been Kelsey and Tyreek. There's never been 1st and 10, turn around and hand it off, 25 carry running back. The reason they spent so much money is because that is going to be the offense.
Right.
So I'm intrigued. We've never seen this before from Mahomes, and this is when I buy. All the stuff you were saying about they're limping around, everybody's old, I totally get it. But this is when I'm in on.
I think you're right. You can buy now, but it's not going to pay off until 2027 is when it's going to pay off. It's not going to pay off this year.
Maybe longer than that. Look, if you look at the people, when Hembo and I did the book about the greatest dynasties, the Patriot dynasty is really two separate dynasties.
Definitely.
The only threads of commonality between them are Brady and Belichick. But there was a lull, if you will, in between, and it never got bad. Our analytics have the Chiefs 68% chance to make the playoffs. All right, that's still pretty high. I mean, 38% chance to win the division.
I still think they are the most favored team in that division, according to our analytics, to win the AFC West for whatever that's worth. It's the first time last year that they haven't been to the playoffs since 2013. They had won 9 straight or 8 straight division titles.
Right.
Something tells me that Patrick Mahomes is going to be a little bit motivated this year to try to make up for last year.
Oh, let's do one more. Holding McCourt, J-Mac has an interesting question.
Yeah, will a rookie head coach make it to the Super Bowl? There's so many conversations about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Is this going to be the year? Who's going to get to the Super Bowl first? Well, both of them have brand new head coaches who have never done it before. The last time that has happened and that coach has made it to a Super Bowl was 2009 when Jim Caldwell took over the Indianapolis Colts. Wow. So it's easy for us to just say, hey, one of these two guys, they're due to make it to the Super Bowl. But is that actually going to happen this year in year one for both new head coaches?
Well, I mean, the unique thing about that is Jim Caldwell walked into Peyton Manning, and these coaches are walking into modern versions of Peyton Manning. So it's certainly possible. The question again, and I feel like a broken record, but defense is the story of this coming season. All those offensive coordinators you talk about, the reason why we have a lot of offensive coordinators is because defense has been ahead of offense in recent seasons as far as adapting and innovation. I think that the question for both of these teams is how good are their defense going to be? Will the Bills be able to stop the run? Yes or no? That's going to determine how far they go. Can the Ravens rush the passer? If not, is it going to force them to compromise the rest of their defense? Those are the questions. It has a lot more to do with that than I think it has to do with the rookie head coaches.
I think I guess you can call it a brave move of the offseason was firing Sean McDermott. They didn't want to do that. Yeah. They love Sean McDermott. The community loves him. They did it anyway because they weren't in love with him. They were in like with him. And the fact that they get Josh Allen's guy, Joe Brady, who was really tight with, I think it's got to be Buffalo.
Schefter, a final thought here on these Ravens and these Bills in particular, starting over, but only a little bit.
Well, I think Buffalo is really interesting. A new era with a new stadium, a lot of excitement, new head coach, new coaching staff like that. A lot of changes there. And we're talking about the offensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. In Baltimore, they hired Declan Doyle as their offensive coordinator. He's outstanding. But we don't know what it's like for Declan Doyle to call a game yet. And there's another question as we head into the season.
All right, so that's Holding McCourt. We have a ton more NFL news, but we actually have a major breaking story in college football this morning. A huge shakeup at Michigan.